All right. This is Frank Titus, and the podcast is called Aches and Pains and Other Things. And today I am with Helene, who I have been a patient for, I'm not sure exactly how long, at least 10, maybe longer than that. But not a continuous patient. It's been on and off, and we just went through a session. And how did you feel about what happened today? Let's start with that.
It's amazing. I think what happens to me on and off is that I forget how amazing, and I start to think that I can just rely on my own willpower. But I just did have something wrong with my back, and I had gone to the chiropractor, and while she can do a gunk, nothing fixes what's really wrong. I mean, I'm just getting somebody else to make it right or fix it for a second, but it reverts. And when I see you, I always end up feeling like my back is more breathing and I feel better and the pain releases. And I just forget when I'm doing well to keep the progress going. But what we just did now in just 30 minutes or something was just a completely helpful thing that if I did this all the time, I can tell that I wouldn't go back to the same pain that I keep having.
Right. I just love every time we meet. And well, obviously we need to do this more often. I keep telling you about that. And I appreciate that you forget about me. That's fine. But I also want to talk about, what you said earlier, that we've never met.
Yeah, it is. I tell people this all the time. It's like, I see this. Well, when I learned about you, someone told me who lives in LA and said, you should see this guy if you've got a back problem. And his name is Frank. And I said, well, where is he? And they said LA. And I said, well, that's ridiculous. Like, I'm in San Francisco. And we've never met. And it has been unbelievably perfect. And I've never missed that we haven't met. And nobody understands that until you work with you, because you can see me through X-ray eyes when you look at my body. You can see what's not right. And then we go through the exercises together on Zoom, and it works perfectly. I don't have to commute. You don't have to commute. And I've been very, very grateful that this process of yours isn't about a hands-on, it's about an eyes-on. And your eyes are spectacular, and you see precisely what has to be done.
I find it very interesting, the whole thing that you just said, but it is, I tell people that, I'm really not doing any of the work. I'm like Home Depot. I sell you a hammer and then you have to do all the work. So it is, and we don't use any equipment. And like you said, there's no hands-on. So I think, and you could tell me, I feel when I first started doing this, it was very empowering to be able to treat myself. Obviously I'm showing you what to do, but you are doing all of the work.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes I forget, and then it goes back to the way it was. But your magic, Frank, is that you can see whether a hammer's needed or a screwdriver, and you don't have a one size fits all. And your ability to accurately assess the body and then prescribe the right exercise or tool is the magic. And yeah, it's my job to do it or not do it. But whenever I do, it always works.
Well, also, I would love to hear about your golf game, because that is such a huge part of your life.
Yes. It was, well, so since I have like this, some amount of scoliosis, and since golf is such a swinging sport,
right? And very unilateral.
And yes, and so it became an issue around struggling around some places in my back that weren't doing so well. And I thought, well, maybe I can't play golf, but no, you said, no, I can play golf. I mean, if I'm in the right posture with golf, and if I do the exercises pre-golf and post-golf and don't just hop in my car, I can start to support my back in an exercise that's pretty vigorous. And I have. And so I've been playing now for 7 years. And my back does really well in golf these days. I'm now struggling with skiing, and we're working on that today, but golf, I'm doing great. And you figured out how to give me the right exercises so that each time I go out, I make sure to limber up before I engage in that kind of motion.
Well, and a big part of now when I watch golf tournaments online is they talk about your posture over the ball. And if you can't get into that posture, because a lot of people will get into it and their back's all rounded, and so that they end up being a very handsy person. But when you have that range of motion, it becomes, to me, much easier.
Yeah, one of the things that has happened to me in my golf game is that I have gone from like the hundreds to the 90s. And one of the reasons I did that was I was able to extend my distance. And the reason I was able to extend my distance is that for the first time, I started actually using my hips as the lever for creating more impact and power. And I could have not done that if I hadn't figured out with you how to have that more limber body.
Right.
I was handsy.
Yes. Most people end up becoming very handsy because they don't have ranges of motion, and they don't have the balance too, to be able to keep the balance as you're going through. You should just turn like kind of like on a center spot, right? I think some of those teaching tools, they have those circles wherever, you do everything through this certain range of motion, but your body stays here, everything else moves
well, the
around.
whole idea is that your head doesn't move, your head stays quiet and everything's happening in your thoracic spine and hips.
Right.
And that wasn't possible at the beginning, and it's possible now.
Yes. And imagine, you've gone from the hundreds to the 90s, but other people, they could go from the 90s to the 80s,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the same, right? It's the same thing. And hopefully you'll get me from the 90s to the 80s before I turn 90.
Well, I'm ready. We just have to get you back on a little bit more steady, maybe every couple months or something like that. Kind of like a dental checkup or something.
Yeah, when I forget, it all reverts. So there has to be some kind of discipline by the person to kind of keep it going and to keep touching base with you. I think that really is a foundational piece.
I think it is too. And I think of it as not just like a dental appointment, but when you get a personal trainer, you're not getting a personal trainer so that they can count 10 while you're doing bicep curls. You're getting a personal trainer because you have an appointment to go and do that. And so I think that's
that's right. It's a commitment. It's a focus on your own commitment and support around your own commitment. And also, when you watch the exercises and when you're with me, they actually are done better. So the effect.
I could say, do this, do this, do this. But now that I'm excited for you to see this video that I just made, because it's a short video, because I pause it and stop it. So it's probably only about 5 minutes long, but it has all the cues, and then you can even use it on your phone. If you're doing something, or if you're somewhere else, you'll have that video, and you'll have all those cues of me telling you what to do, rather than, the whole hour session. You don't have to have all that, just the short little video with the cues.
I think that'll be fantastic. That'll be fantastic.
I can't wait to see that. All right, so we're gonna stop it there. Thank you so much, Helene, and I look forward to seeing you soon, hopefully soon.
Yes, thank you so much. It was so great to be in this conversation.
Well, thank you.